Hello, everyone. My name is Laurent Denis. I'm really happy to be with you today for this online meetup dedicated to self-driving vehicles, how self-driving vehicles are helping fight against COVID-19, or saying differently, how do we use self-driving vehicles to help the society to solve this problem, this issue. So I'm really happy to be here with you today with Nicolas De Crémiers, Head of Marketing at NAVYA, with Ludovic Privat, and with Xavier Poussin de Wilt, together from the Connected and Self-Driving Vehicle Meetup community in Paris. So let me share my screen with you to start the conversation together. So the situation with this crisis, with the pandemic, as of today, since the month of January, we have almost 2 million cases around the world and more than 125,000 deaths around the world. With half of the population around the world is confined, is locked down. That's the first in our generation, and with an impact, very important impact on transportation. As you can see here in a few countries in Europe, with from -50 to -90% of walking capacity, and up to -90% of public transportation in Italy, for instance. So huge impact on transportation. So if you'd like to start by presenting yourself in the chat, you can say hi to us with your name and your company. Also, you can answer to the poll to tell us where you're from. Are you from the European Union or outside the EU? Please answer the poll so we can know you better. So back to my presentation. So there's an impact on delivery, a huge demand on delivery for all the industries. Amazon last week announced that they've hired 20% more new employees compared to the last quarter. And the stores that would normally experience 5% of revenue through online sales are now as high as 20 to 30%. So huge demand on delivery with this world lockdown. Also, we've seen in the news some experimentations of delivery and road disinfection with self-driving vehicles in China, but also in America, in the US, with NAVYA and BEEP shuttles. And today we're very happy to have Nicolas De Crémiers, Head of Marketing at NAVYA, who is going to tell us more about this specific experimentation with the city of Jacksonville in Florida. So here's an introduction about today's conference. Now, about who we are. So we are a group of automotive professionals who have been organizing conferences and meetups for the last few years, and we've been growing a community. So let me introduce you to Ludovic Privat first. Ludovic, can you say hi to us?
Hello, this is Ludovic speaking. Nice to be online with you. So I'm based in France as well, like Laurent, and I've been working in the connected car location-based services for about 15 years. Thanks, Laurent.
Okay, we've lost you, Ludovic. Xavier, can you introduce yourself?
Yep, I've been working within Forestia for the past 3 years, and for the past year, I've been doing a lot of tech watch and engagement. And the last topic I'm working on is the CO2 neutrality project for Forestia. I'm very happy to work with Laurent and Ludovic and have Nicolas on the meetup.
Thank you. It's for myself, Laurent Dunis. I'm an automotive engineer. I've been working for Renault and Nissan for 12 years as an engineer. And then I've created 2 startups, 2 companies, and one in the automotive industry, developing technologies for automotive predictive maintenance, which is called XMotion, which is the name of the company. And I've been creating this group here, this Meetup community in Paris. So together with our official partners, Léonard, the innovation branch of Vinci Group, who is the world leader in infrastructure management and construction. France AutoTech is an association for startups developing technology for the automotive industry in France. La Fabrique des Mobilités, who is building a community and a lot of innovations for the mobility sector. The Renault Innovation Lab in Paris, Le Square. BusinessFrance, helping French companies to have success around the world and helping companies around the world to succeed in France. And Autonomy and the Urban Mobility Summit, which is an international exhibition and conference for mobility companies, which will take place on the November 4 and 5th in Paris. So I'll invite you to join us at Autonomy. So please don't forget to fill out the poll and to say hi to us, to introduce yourself in the chat so we know who you are and we can interact with you. You can start asking questions to us in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them at the end of the online conference. Next, so with the Meetup community since 2019, we've organized 27 meetups in Paris. We have 2,700 professionals registered within our group. We've had 1,800 participants to our meetups so far, with 105 speakers, 25 sponsoring companies who host our meetups and benefit from our community. So if you'd like to organize and sponsor a meetup with us in the future and with you in the future, please send a message to us and we'll be happy to study this information. So we've received experts and speakers from automotive companies, but from companies in the tech industry, in the transportation industry, from around the world, AWS, Mobilités, Vinci, here, and NAVYA, PSA, Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi, and with speakers from these companies. You can access to all the material that we've shared during our meetups through our website here. You can find the slide shares, all the slides that were shared during our meetups, you will find them here. We've had more than 12,000 views of our slide shares these past few years. Huge success. And you can also find some video recordings of our meetups on our YouTube channel. Once again, you can find this information in our group. So please join our group and you will be able to find all this wonderful material that we've shared in our previous meetups. Now, we're happy to partner with Ludovic Privat on his next event dedicated to networking, business networking for automotive professionals. So Ludovic, are you there with us? Okay, so Ludovic, the sound is not really good. Can you try again? So it seems like Ludovic's signal is not working. So I'm going to present this event for you. So on April 28th this year, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. CET, Paris time, we are organizing the location-based services telematics connections business networking event. This event is made for senior decision makers, for executive and managers in the location-based services, Internet of Things, telematics and connected car industries to connect together, to meet new people and to make business. So we'll have around 250 participants from around the world. We've had some participants from more than 30 countries registered today. So how does it work? So please register to the networking event at this link here on LinkedIn. There is a participation fee of 30 euros up to today, until today, the early bird ticket. Then later, a price of 50 euros to participate in this networking event. This is an online networking event, online only, where you will have 15 minutes to match and meet and connect with one-on-one professionals from around the world. So you will meet one person at a time for 15 minutes. Then you will switch to a new person to communicate with. So this is a great opportunity for us guys to stay connected, to meet people from around the world, to make business, to find new partners. So I count on you to go to this page here and to register today. So now let's continue and go to the next phase of our program, and let's talk about the subject that matters to us today: how self-driving vehicles are helping fight against COVID-19. So I'm happy to welcome Nicolas De Crémiers, Head of Marketing at NAVYA today. So Nicolas?
Yes, hi Laurent.
Hello, how are you?
Nice to meet you, hi. Good, and you?
Yes, very good. So I'm at home right now and working from home. And I'm really happy to have you on board with us today to talk about new ways, new solutions to help the community to solve this problem. So we've seen some news in the media that you have an experimentation going on in the United States with the NAVYA self-driving shuttles. And we're going to talk about it in the next few minutes. But first, can you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are.
Sure. So I'm Nicolas. I've joined NAVYA in 2016. Previously, I worked for more than 10 years in the telecom industry and then moved to the mobility industry. And at NAVYA, I'm leading the marketing globally for NAVYA, meaning communication, but as well as product development for the company.
Okay, perfect. So I think you have a video for us, so let's try it. And during the video, can you talk to us about NAVYA?
Sure. So just a few words about NAVYA. So NAVYA is a company that was created in 2014, a leading French name in the autonomous driving systems. Right now, NAVYA employs more than 280 employees in France, as well as in the United States, in Michigan, nearby Saline. And our vision is to aim at becoming a leading player for the supplies of autonomous level 4 driving systems for passengers and goods transport. A few figures about NAVYA. So we've been the first to market and put into services self-driving mobility solutions. The autonomous shell, the ones you saw in our production facility in Vinci right now in the video, which is our main development axis as of today. That was launched in 2015. and nearly 160 units have been sold so far by end of 2019, notably in the United States, in France, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, and as well in Australia.
Okay, perfect introduction. So here you have more information about the shuttle and your technology. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. So the shuttle itself is a fully self-driving vehicle with no steering wheel, no pedals, 100% electric, which can transport up to 15 passengers, which is a low-speed vehicle, meaning that the max operating speed is 25 kilometers per hour, and as it's running on electric, the average running time is nearly 9 hours. But this is the main features of the vehicle. But what is more interesting is the fact that we are using our deep in-house technological expertise, which it applies to self-driving vehicles. For both, right now we are presenting the autonomous shuttle, but it's almost the same for the transport of goods with the autonomous truck. So we are using in-house three-dimensional mapping in order to pre-map the route, as we are operating in a geofence area mainly. Our proprietary localization technology, deep learning, obstacle detection through notably LiDARs and camera sensors, driving system and decisions making technology, security and safety, of course, and last but not least, the fleet management capabilities, which can be done by ourselves or reserved to our partners through an API. Okay, perfect. So yes, you are providing this full stack solution here with the shuttle and the technology that you're developing yourself, but also can you sell your technology to other vehicle manufacturers? Sure, this is part of our strategy, is to be supply our autonomous driving systems to other companies, like we've done in end 2018, where we created a subsidiary with Charlotte Manutention, which is a leader in the tractor industry for airports and industrial sites, and they have a platform called T135, which is an electric tow tractor, and where we just put our technology in it in order to autonomize it. And then we create the autonomous truck, which has been launched a year after. And the first pilots started end of last year. The first one was at the Toulouse airport, and we had the first pilots in an airport in Europe in full autonomy. Awesome. So we're very proud to have NAVYA with us today. Thank you very much, Nicolas, for being here. Here, can you tell us a little bit about your footprint of your projects around the world? Sure. So as I said, since 2015, we have started commercializing our solutions. And right now we have nearly 160 units sold all over the world in more than 23 countries, mixing in different areas from open roads, meaning mixed traffic with other road users, as well as private sites, which can be airports, industrial sites, hospitals, and all kind of private sites. So the various trials carried out on a global scale since the beginning demonstrate that the relevance of autonomous vehicles as tomorrow innovative and responsible mobility solution over the short distances, first and last mile, within a controlled environment and at a limited speed as well. All right. So I would like to remind our participants, please introduce yourselves in the chat. Tell us who you are, your name, your company. We're very happy to have you on board. Also, please answer our poll.
in your opinion, what is the best use of autonomous vehicles in the future? Passenger transportation, goods transportation, both or none? What is your opinion? We'd like to know about. So Nicolas, now let's dive in the subject that we are interested in today, which is the experimentation that you have launched with your partner Beep and Mobility in Jacksonville, Florida in the United States. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Sure. So since the March 30th, we teamed up with our partner at Beep, Jacksonville Transport Authority, and Mayo Clinic, using 4 NAVYA autonomous shuttles to facilitate the safe transport of COVID-19 tests collected at the Mayo Clinic, driving through testing sites and its campus. So just a few words about the experimentation itself, maybe.
I think you have a video.
Oh, sure, yes.
Do you want to show the video? Okay.
Yes, go on. So here you saw the show. So the operation itself is really straightforward and adapted to autonomous transportation. So the track is very short. It's under 0.8 miles. So 1.2 kilometers in length. And as you saw, the testing of individuals COVID-19 takes place, and then health workers place the test kits into a secure container. Then they move them to within the autonomous shuttle, and then the shuttle travels along a predetermined routes from which pedestrians, traffic, and staff are banned. I can get back on that later on. And then the driverless shuttle is accompanied from behind at a safe distance by another vehicle to the Mayo Clinic. So
okay.
In terms of frequency, right now we are able to achieve about 5 to 6 round trips per day. Okay,
perfect. So before diving into this experimentation, I'd like to understand why. What has happened to the world of transportation and to you in particular since the breakout of COVID-19?
So like most companies in the self-driving industry, our worldwide operations for passenger transport are almost suspended right now by our operating partners during this outbreak. Nevertheless, one of the lessons we learned thus far from the pandemic when it comes to demonstrated use of autonomous technology is that there is a sincere viability of autonomous vehicles for goods transport in general, but specifically in moments where increased risk could be posed to a living being. And the experimentation we were experiencing right now at the Mayo Clinic is a perfect example. These are moments where we want to limit human exposure, and if an autonomous shuttle can limit that interaction, no matter how statistically significant or insignificant it is, it's helping free up time and providing another level of safety for the professional involved.
Yes, definitely. It seems like it's a perfect use case to experiment self-driving shuttles. So what is the history with the city of Jacksonville in Florida and with Beep Mobility? So who is Beep Mobility? Is it a partner of yours? How long have you been working together?
So Beep Mobility is a partner of us since 2017. So we are working closely in order to develop the business within the US and especially in Florida since 2017. And we have conducted several pilots with them in Florida, especially one at Lake Nona. And based on those experiments, then we entered into discussion with Jacksonville, who has also boats some of our shows, and our partner BIP is already operating them on our behalf.
Okay. So do you consider that this experimentation here will have an impact in the future for the transportation of goods, the transportation of medical supply there in Florida and around the world?
I would say that on a small scale, EVs are already demonstrating their added value in time of crisis. That's what you explained at the beginning of your presentation in China. We saw autonomous vans are being deployed to deliver foods and medical supplies, what we're doing in the US. So I definitely anticipate EVs will provide a useful means of transporting passengers to healthcare facilities, grocery stores, pharmacies. And while also maintaining sterilization and leveraging in-car technology to monitor passenger vital signs. But of course, the most valuable use cases for AV in such cases will be supplementing labor shortages in transportation and additional industries in order to maintain the supply chain. So that's, to me, that's the most critical thing we are pointing out here.
So, and do you have a first indicators, results of this experiment? What is the feedback from the people who interact with this service?
So, the pilots was launched 3 weeks ago, so it's quite a young one. Nevertheless, what we know as of today is the fact that our partner at Mayo Clinic, and especially the health people who are working closely on a daily basis with our vehicle, seems to be quite happy with it. And we had also good feedback from the US government, who are really wants to develop such kind of application of AV, and is asking to the entire industry to think how we can move forward together and speed up the process to find solutions like the one we've developed with our partner at BIP and Jacksonville, to implement that in other states within the America.
And do you have some feedback, or if you don't have, I hope you will soon have some feedback about how the citizens, the people in the street react to these self-driving shuttles, and what is your opinion about the trust between citizens and self-driving vehicles in the future?
I would say that, it's still the same. We are completely creating something from scratch. So some consumers are very of AVs, and due to the fact that they're not deployed widely as of today, and they have not delivered their full potential yet. So it's almost the same for each disruptive technology, I would say. But the crisis will help, of course, maybe accepting new features in the emergence and benefits of AV's adoptions. And that's what we saw is it's already happening in Florida, and maybe it will also happen. That's what we've heard, but in China as well, the acceptance of such kind of mobility solutions is far better post the pandemic. So maybe it will help. Of course, it's just the start. Let's say we are already in the early days right now. So we have shown some promises in addressing some of the biggest challenges confronting the society amid a public health crisis. But what I expect is when AVs achieve a wider acceptance and adoption, their small-scale benefits will play out on a larger stage reducing road accidents, maintaining supply chains, and hopefully monitoring people's health as well.
Okay, so let's go and have a look at the polls, the questions that we've asked to our participants today. So first, 95% of our participants today are from the European Union and 5% outside the EU, but in Europe. So we're between Europeans today. Now for the second poll, what is the best use case for self-driving vehicles or shuttles in large cities in the future? 70% believe that the self-driving shuttles will be useful both for passenger transportation and for goods transportation. But the second position, 20% believe that the best use case is goods transportation. So between passenger and goods transportation, they believe 20% that the best use case is goods transportation. But in a large majority, you believe both use cases are interesting. The third poll that I'd like to invite you to participate to, so in your opinion, when will self-driving shuttles become mainstream in large cities? When will self-driving shuttles become mainstream in large cities? So please help us and give us your opinion. So I have another question for you, Nicolas, who is prospective. So after this crisis here, this global pandemic and lockdown, how do you see transportation in general? Do you see an impact? How do you see it in your opinion?
It's hard to say. Of course, it will have an impact. Definitely, it's for sure that we'll have to find solutions. The social distancing we must face right now will give us a way to rethink the way we are seeing the transport for passengers. For goods, as I said, in the face of decreased manpower for health or safety reasons, it's creating an opportunity for increased accessibility in moments that matter the most. So it will help, definitely. So that's for sure on that end. On the other hand, for passenger transport, that's the point I think that other companies, not only us, but we also have to count with huge companies and also other startups which are currently developing solutions in order to monitor the vehicle cleanliness, air quality, and maybe measuring or recognizing airborne contaminants from ill passengers. So this is things that's maybe not far off, but needs to be developed for such kind of pandemics, and hopefully we will be ready for the next one, and we all expect that it won't happen soon, but we all in the heavy industry wants to be ready, because we have demonstrated that heavy can be a really tool to help in such kind of conditions. So we need to be ready.
Perfect. So now I'd like to open the questions and answers to you, the participants. So Xavier, can you help us to take some questions from our participants to ask to Nicolas?
Yep, we got already 11 questions on the Q&A space.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go through some of them. The first one from Emilien is, would you mind giving some details about the charging matter? Is the shuttle compatible with some standardized charging point?
So right now, this is in order to be clear on that. Right now, yes, we are compatible. Nevertheless, in terms of charging, we're still in a manual charging. We are not in induction charge right now. We're still working on that. We haven't found the right partner to work with in order to use such kind of charge, but of course, as soon as we have found the right partners, we will implement it because it will be part of the solution. Due to the fact that all electric vehicles need, if we want them to be fully autonomous, meaning without any interactions with human, instead of only having a remote or supervision, then definitely it will be a must.
Okay. Got another question from Isabelle Landreau about the data. Do you collect data from passenger, and do you collect public data from city council, from parking spot, etc.? And I would like to add another question. Just could you please remind us the difference between being a system provider and an operator for autonomous shuttle? Maybe will help to answer.
Sure. So just first to answer the questions regarding the data. So what you have to keep in mind is there is several kind of data. There is our own IP, which is of course our proprietary data, and there on the other side there is public data. And in those public data, you have, of course, the passenger ones, but you have all kind of data that are collected by our vehicle. And right now we are working closely with governments on a worldwide basis in order to see how we can work together on those data in order to have a clear split on what has to be free for everyone as it will serve everyone at the end in order to improve the transportation network system on the one hand, and what can be kept for commercial usage, keeping in mind that, of course, we'll have to follow the data privacy rules relying on each country. So that's how it works right now. And in order to answer Xavier's questions, which is also linked to the other one, is the fact that for the collect data from passengers is mainly for the company who will operate the vehicles. Right now, at NAVYA, we are supplying the autonomous driving systems for, let's say, car manufacturers. And these ones can sell the vehicle then to an operator, which is a public transport operator or a private company that will operate the fleet of vehicle. As soon as they are operating the fleet, then they will have to monitor it or supervise it remotely. And that's also why they will have to have access of part of the passenger data. Example, when we say data, it's how many passengers do we have in the vehicle? Meaning, let's take the shell. If it can transport up to 15 passengers, we have 15 less or more than 15. If we have more than 15, then someone has to go out of the vehicle. And that, of course, remote.
Okay, super clear. Maybe in the same idea, we got a question from Jessica Dacleux about how do you integrate user feedback in order to enhance the overall user experience?
So this is something we're connected with our operating partners worldwide, in Asia, in Europe, and in the US, of course, in order to see the differences in people acceptance, people perceptions, and also how do they want the user experience to evolve. Right now, in terms of user experience, here most AVs are not developed enough. We are really in early days. Right now, most of the companies are mainly focusing on developing their own technology and not focusing on the user experience. Nevertheless, this is something we have in mind. So right now, what we do is we're conducting some surveys with our partner to collect some feedbacks and trying to gather all of them in order to see what can be done. And we are also conducting some, let's say, proof of concepts in order to test some kind of infotainment services or also advertisement services in some places, and to see how it can impact and help the business model.
Okay, so we spoke about user feedback, but if we take a larger point of view, then we got a question from Michael Fernandez Ferry. He said that before in the webinar, you spoke about China, where acceptance is higher. And we just read in the news that car sales are booming, where they're because of the COVID, since people fear using shared transportation. And so the question he would like you to answer is, how would you deal with cleanness and social acceptance and fear of shared shuttles?
So that's what I said. It will be almost the same for all public transport at all. It can be true for autonomous shuttle, but it can be true also for the subway, for the bus. Of course, we can adapt our behavior, but it's not the best way to do. As I mentioned, some companies and startups are currently working and developing solutions to monitor the vehicle cleanliness and to find solutions in order to find it. So I would say that on the one hand, in terms of acceptance, of course, what we have demonstrated is the fact that AVs can be part of the solution. That's the one thing. On the other hand, we'll have and especially for passenger transport, but not only, also for the goods transport, we'll have to develop new technologies in order to be 100% sure of the monitoring all the data in terms of cleanliness, air quality, or contaminants inside the vehicle.
Okay. Now I would like to add another question from my part that we spoke about that yesterday. Maybe there will be challenges about people transportation in the months to come. But we see also that for good transportation, there is a huge boom on the goods transportation for all the drives that are put in place. And we spoke also about AGVs, that is also a market that is booming. And could you please explain how shuttles or how autonomous vehicles can help to do the last kilometer between the AGVs that will be good inside factories and logistic part, and the people who want to have these goods? Could you please explain how autonomous vehicles can help the whole logistic chain?
Sure. Right now, what we know is AGVs are used in inside plants since several years now. So it's not anymore a new technology, and it's already mostly developed. But AGVs fall short when they have to get outside the plants, and especially operate in mixed traffic. It can be within the industrial site, as well as dealing with mixed traffic on open roads. And this is where you can find the most difference and where the technology of AVs can be and help. And that's why you are not using the same kind of technology for the same purpose. And AVs in what we're developing right now, meaning first and last mile transportation systems. If we are talking about goods, let's take the example of the autonomous trucks right now, which can transport luggage or also transport tires or any goods within a plant and within a site. The point is we are just filling the gap between the inside and the outside up to another place outside. And with that, what we're doing is right now, when you are in a plant, let's take an example of a plant, you have a driver which takes the goods at the end of the chain where the AGVs have put all the goods, and then they are transferring from this point to another point situated within the plant or outside. Here what we'll do is just relying on having someone just monitoring between the transport of the goods from the AGVs to the AVs, and then just looking at it and checking that everything goes well. It's almost the same of what we're doing here at the Mayo Clinic. It's almost the same.
Okay. Okay, I got one question about the fleet efficiency, and do you are the shuttles under your management can work coordinately or in cooperate way? It's a question from Yan Wen Chen, and then maybe we're gonna come back to a couple of questions about the specific project with BIP. I have a couple of questions on it. So the first question is about the are your shuttles work within a fleet?
So we can manage a fleet, but I guess maybe the questions from Yan-Wen is more related to are we able to do some platooning? Maybe I guess that's what's the question behind. Right now, so in order to answer, on the one hand, we are able to manage fleets, as I said, remotely, directly with our own supervision management system, or through the one of our partner who has their own fleet management system. And why fleets? Due to the fact that managing fleets is the only way to have a reliable and viable business model at the end of the day, due to the fact that instead of having several drivers, you'll have only one people looking remotely at the fleet. Now the question is, can we interact with the fleet? Of course, through our own API, we have some interaction with the fleet, but small interactions. If we are talking about platooning, this is another story, which is completely different and is mostly served for another kind of use cases, which is mostly for the trucks. And for the trucks, having platooning is really good use cases. On our use cases as of today, this is not something we are really focusing on. But of course, if we have some requests from customers, this is maybe something we'll have to look after.
Maybe the question was, for example, if we come back to the clinic we did speak about, how many shuttles are used in the same time?
So at the same times, right now, we had 2 shuttles running at the same time, but it depends. In fact, we had once 3 vehicles at the same time. It depends of the needs. You know, it's something we have on site up to 4 vehicles. So this is what we have scaled with the Mayo Clinic, based on what they saw at the beginning of the pandemic, is the fact that they will need overall 4 vehicles at the same time if needed.
Okay, and so for the Mayo Clinic, I've got a question. We've got a question from Antoine Solgrin. But what kind of scenario do you discovered during the BIP project? Is there anything new that happened? Is there anything new that happened a new use case, a new scenario that you will be able to?
No, so I wouldn't say that there is something quite new. There is the main interesting fact is it's something for us quite unique. Why unique? First, such kind of projects usually take several weeks to outline the viability of such kind of project, including the time needed to analyze the site feasibility, the deployment mapping, and other technical details. However, in this case, the planning of this operation occurred in only a week before the launch, and we achieved it through the fact that all the stakeholders were really involved in making it happen in only a week. This is our challenge, and we said that if we are not able to make it happen in a week, we won't be able to make it happen after. So that's why that was the first bet we all made, is trying to see how such kind of project can be put in place really quickly and efficiently. And of course, this is also due to the fact that we work closely with our partner at BIP since a long time, and also Jacksonville Transport Authority. The second point is the fact that all parties has to work remotely from one another while taking into consideration the safety aspect of the operation to execute such service during the health crisis. And this is the first time we did such kind of things 100% remotely. And this is one thing we noticed is if all the partners knows enough the technology, and don't forget that we're quite a brand new techno. The company, the NAVYA company, was only founded in 2014, and the first vehicles was on the road in 2015, so 5 years. And now we are able to start pilots almost 100% remotely. I wouldn't say 100% completely, but almost part of it, a great part of it remotely, so which is a good learnings of such kind of pilots.
Okay.
And maybe I could add a last thing about it. Is the fact, and I said I will get back on it, is it was also a particular one for us due to the fact that the site is blocked to other road users while the shuttle is operating at full autonomy. And this was the first time in the United States that a full autonomous vehicle has been deployed under these circumstances. So that's why, you know, for us, this pilot is quite unique. Of course, we'd love to have something scalable like that in order to educate at every level. And this is something we expect to achieve soon. And we'll see if the pool was correct, saying if it will be within 2 to 3 years or more than that. But of course, this is something that can serve at every level, definitely.
Okay, so we'll be very happy to hear about the results of this experiment in a few weeks or in a few months. Thank you very much, Nicolas, for answering our questions. We've asked a question to our participants today. We've asked, in your opinion, when will self-driving shuttles become mainstream in large cities? And at 50%, we have an answer that self-driving shuttles will become mainstream in around 2030. And the next winning vote is in 2040. So it's in a long time from now. So Nicolas, I'd like to know, according to you, what are the main challenges to solve today and in the next 5 to 10 years to make these self-driving shuttles mainstream in our cities? So what are the main challenges to face in this field?
That's a good question. I would say maybe the three main enablers to have AV scale, to see AV scale of autonomous shuttle. First one will be the regulation. Of course, we'll need a common legal regulatory framework to move from pilots to commercial businesses. Don't forget that right now we're still in pilot phase, meaning that we are not yet in commercial phase. And most of the law worldwide are changing right now, or changed over the last year to let us conducting pilots without safety driver aboard on open roads, meaning that of course we can conduct pilots within private sites, and that's why it's also help us developing the transport of goods, but the transport of passengers is still on the way. The second enabler will be the technology. As I mentioned, of course, the regulation will have to change, but the technology will have also to improve in terms of reliability and safety. In order to get the third enabler, I'll get back on it later, which will be the public acceptance. But in terms of technology, as I mentioned, we are still in the early days of having our vehicles operating in full autonomy, meaning with riders or good only, meaning without any attendants or safety driver aboard. So that's what we are all working on right now in all the pilots working worldwide on a daily basis, and it's our ultimate goal of the technology. Of course, it's logical, we're talking about AVs, but this is something we're just right now able to achieve. So we are at the beginning, and this is something that will be a reality on commercial operation within, let's say, a few years. When I say few years, it's between 2 years, from 2 years to 5 years, something like that. And then, of course, public acceptance. That's something really important to have the public acceptance, and we expect that with all the pilots we have all over the world, but we need to have more pilots, of course, transport of goods and transport of passengers, to gain the public acceptance. And of course, we'll have our part as well in developing the user experience internally of our solutions in order to get trust and acceptance from the public.
Okay, thank you very much for that last question. Thank you, Nicolas. Good luck to you guys, to you and your team. Thank you for participating, and we'll be happy to welcome you to a next meetup in the future again. So thank you very much, and you have a great day.
Thank you, Laurent, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So as a conclusion, I wanted to remind the participants about this networking event here for automotive professionals. Ludovic, can you join us maybe and present this event to us?
Yes, I think this time my microphone is working.
Perfect.
So hi to everybody online. Yes, indeed. So the event is going to take place on April 28th in the afternoon Paris time, actually 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Paris time. The event is really a global event, meaning that there will be people attending from the west coast of the US, east coast, Brazil, many countries in Europe, on up to people in India, in Singapore. So it's going to be quite global. And basically, the focus of the event is at the crossroad of connected car, smart mobility, location-based services on IoT. And it's purely a B2B networking event. There is no conference, there is no content. The whole idea of this event is really to make connections between business professionals, to use the time that we are all spending at home, working from our living room or bedroom. There are not going to be any business conferences for the months to come. So we thought it would be an opportunity to do this kind of virtual events. And we are basically expecting more than 200 people attending, and the registration are going pretty fast, actually. So it's great.
So participant can register here on the LinkedIn page, LBS Telematics Connections, and they can pay for an early bird ticket until today at the price of €30.
Yeah, and if you are still questioning yourself about that, we can potentially provide you with a coupon for the next 2 days, so you can contact us for that as well, and we'll make sure you get the early bird price, even if it's closing tonight.
Yeah, so we're going to open a Meetup page for this event and have a coupon to benefit from the early bird ticket until in the next few days. And so how does it work exactly? How will people interact and meet with other professionals?
Yeah, so actually it's going to be very simple. It's an online platform that I've been using in other events for many years. 1 week before the event, everybody will be able to access the platform and get the names, the profile of the attendees, and then they can engage with potential partners, customers, so on and so forth. There is also a general board where people can provide information for all to see. And then the goal of the platform is basically to set up kind of speed dating meetings that are going to take place in video at the time of the event. So the event is for 4 hours. Each video meetings is 15 minutes, so you have plenty of time to manage different meetings in the afternoon or in the morning if you are in the US. On the whole idea is really to make additional business connection, discover new technologies, and potentially find prospects or new partners.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's a great opportunity, and we're very happy to organize and to partner with you on this as usual. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for participating. Thank you, Ludovic. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you, Nicolas. And we'll be happy to organize future meetups online or physical. And you can register to our group and access to our slide shares and to our videos. So thank you very much, everybody. You have a great afternoon. Take care of your family, and we'll see you soon.